Okay, welcome. It's fresh set of downs. We've got 8 weeks in the books, and it's Bruce Badgley and Bob Long this week. These Phillies playoff games are really taking their toll on participation here in the fresh set of downs. You were at a Phillies playoff game. Now, Dave here is at the playoff games here, and so it's that time of year when everything kind of crosses over, Bob, right?
It is disruptive for sure. I think last year was a land speed record, though, and I'm speaking for myself and our LaSalle College High School football schedule. Bruce, I think 5 games in a row, there was direct conflict. I'm talking about in the window of our broadcast and the window of the playoff broadcast that the two overlapped. So I have planned it out. It looks like there should be zero issues from a regular season football standpoint compared to the rest of the NLCS, and if they are so fortunate to go to the World Series, so that's good. But yes, Monday nights have been affected this year, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesdays. But look, the nice part is that we're kind of flexible here with the show. Personally, I kind of like it on Tuesday nights. But Mondays are just as good. I mean, we've got everything in the books from a very kind of wild week 8 results. I don't know whether it's week 8 or week 7, depending on whether you think that it's week 0 or week 1 when you
Yes.
start or what have you. But we had an awful lot of really good games. And also this week, I think we're going to be, as we go along here, we're going to review, obviously, last week's result. We'll talk about our top fives. We'll take a look at next week. And we're going to have a nice discussion on Penn State football this year. Probably the most interesting game, maybe in college football this week, the Ohio State Penn State game, which, God, they started advertising that big time yesterday on all the NFL games, it looked like.
Yes, that should be a great game. Excited to talk to our guest about that. Excited to add some few thoughts that I might have as well. It's one of the 2 games, though, that Penn State fans and really everybody inside that building, recognizes is really important. Obviously, it's a 1-0 mentality. James Franklin talks about that all the time. But at the end of the day, if you win the other games that you are quote unquote supposed to win, it comes down to these 2. And James Franklin has won 1 time against Ohio State in his tenure. Of course, it was 2016. The blocked punt followed by the blocked field goal returned for a touchdown, storming of the field. They ended up winning the Big Ten championship that year. So that's the real litmus test, isn't it? If you beat Ohio State, you're going to have a chance to accomplish a Big Ten championship potentially, the goals in the college football playoff. It all sits in front of them, and it all starts on Saturday.
And we'll be talking to Mike Gross from LNP about 8 o'clock, or in the case of when anybody watching this on demand, probably about 25 minutes into the broadcast. So why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll take a look at last week. And, go into, some of the great games that we had. Actually, it helps if I go ahead and get that on the share button there. I apologize for the fans. I got to hit the share button first, and then we can bring up the results. And there you're probably seeing it now, right, Bob?
We have it loud and clear. Yeah.
All right, loud and clear. And, a very interesting matchup up there in District 2, Del Val, which you actually did a game of theirs a couple of years ago with LaSalle. They're a 5A team. They're playing a 4A team in Valley View, and they came up with a pretty resounding 30-12 win. What do you think?
Great program, Del Val. And I think some of the detractors might say that, hey, based upon where they are up in District 2 country, up in the Wilkes-Barre area, perhaps there isn't the depth of talent up there year after year. Well, that may or may not be the case, but this is a program that year after year continues to hoist themselves into big games. And generally, they've acquitted themselves pretty well. They've always come up certainly a little shy of their intended goal, but a great program where, they have sophomores and juniors that are really talented players, Bruce, but they always have that senior core to learn from. And then that sophomore junior class becomes seniors. I mean, that's how you build a program over time, right? There are teams that have had one-off seasons that we still talk about, some tremendous teams, but Del Val is one of those programs that does it year after year. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. And I think one of these years they do break through, Bruce. I think they win a couple games maybe they're not supposed to, air quotes, and find themselves in the state semifinal at some point. So really good win for that team.
Yeah, I think, look, they've got opportunity. I believe the 5A teams up there in District 2, I think that they kind of go out west rather than to, go down and face the District 1 champs. Don't quote me on that, but I tell you what, Del Val, I think a great win there. How about Mount Carmel? This is the second consecutive year that they've taken on Southern Columbia and beaten them. And, I tell you what, they jumped out to a 21-point lead and never looked back.
That's an enormous win because last year it was all kind of explainable, right? Southern Columbia had some serious injuries and they had lost 3 games in that regular season. And they had only lost 2 games from that point prior all the way to 2015. And Garrett Garcia is back on the field this year. And the thought was, I guess the last point I left out there, Bruce, is that they avenged every one of those losses, or at least 2 of them last year, en route to another state championship. So the thought was, hey, perhaps that was a blip on the radar, and this is back to Southern Columbia just simply dominating that area of the state. Mount Carmel shows they're for real, could set up another rematch. Again, a lot of football to play. Fantastic game. Huge result for Mount Carmel, one that resounds across the state.
Yeah, that was the say what game in Pennsylvania last week. And along with Chester, God, that 11 o'clock start there at Chester on Saturday kind of bit Downingtown West there. A few turnovers by Downingtown West. Chester takes advantage of them and comes away with a huge 28-19 win. That's a 5A team beating a 6A team down there in District 1. That doesn't happen a lot, but it happened on Saturday.
Yeah, great win. Downingtown West, obviously very, very stout up the middle, good lines there. Chester, a very, very talented program, and one that we, have looked at over the course of the year. It always seems to be on our recap. Who did Chester play that week? This feels like that game that puts them on the map. Again, I don't know who either of us would have picked. I'll say that the result surprises me a little bit, that it's a 2-possession game, albeit just a 9-point win. But Chester, that's really impressive. And all of a sudden, you think about who's on this side of the state, Bruce. Man, are there any really talented teams? I don't know, maybe from District 12 that are good 5A teams that a team like Chester might see in a state tournament? I'm thinking MOTEP. I'm thinking if Roman plays MOTEP, and that could be a minor upset. A Roman Catholic. Boy, to see a team like Chester take on one of those 2 teams in the state playoff game would be something else.
Yeah, it sure would. And I'll tell you what, Chester just continues to move forward in football here over the last couple of years. Just incredible. How about a walk-off field goal by Marple Newtown's Josh, and I hope I get his pronunciation right, McMenamick. And they come away with a 23-20 win over undefeated Strathaven. Incredible.
And how about a geographic rivalry, Bruce? I mean, you up your way, you talk about the Governor Mifflins versus Exeters of the world. In Delaware County, this is the kind of matchup that you're talking about. Guys that know each other from peewee ball all the way up through high school ball. They're playing multiple sports. We had the chance to see this Marple Newtown team, a team of baseball and football players, play basketball against MOTEP and take them to the brink a couple of years ago. I like that school. I like the spirit of that school, and I like that athletics department on the come up across the various sports. The only thing I'd say is Strathaven the week before, Bruce, not to take a single thing away from Marple Newtown, because their record and resume coming into this game stands on its own and speaks for itself. But Strathaven had one of those gutsy and emotional victories on the road at Garnet Valley. You know how hard it's been to win on the road at Garnet Valley the last few years. Strathaven did that the week before. Sometimes tough to come back. And Marple Newtown played great snap for snap. You mentioned the game-winning field goal. That's a result that could impact a lot of things in that area of Delaware County, and those Marple Newtown fans will be talking about. Really a special season for the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about that too, that, this is where the power rankings are really going to, affect whether teams do or don't get home games, and just very interesting. And I think, maybe down the road, I don't know, maybe that may have cost Strathaven, a home game for the District 1 championship. That's very interesting there. Northwestern Lehigh, pretty resounding win over Bangor, 35-6. They just keep rolling, Bob.
They keep rolling. This is obviously Dave's territory. But I mean, it's a great program, and I think it's more of the wait and see at this point. So from a competition level, okay, they've established that they're a very solid program. This result doesn't surprise anyone. The put up or shut up time will be in the postseason. And I think they're cascading to that point. I don't have a ton more to add, but a win that they expected to have, and a team that we'll be talking about in November without a doubt.
You kind of touched on it there briefly, but I feel kind of the same way about District 11 teams. For some reason this year, there aren't a lot of ways to connect the dots with how these teams are playing with teams around the state. They seem to be very kind of tight knit in, their in conference play and then out of conference play between, the Colonial League and the Schuylkill League and what have you. So you really don't get a gauge for how these teams are going to match up, across the state. But clearly Parkland has got to be one of the top teams. And Trey Trimba, one of the top players in 6A in the state, isn't he?
He is special. He is special, and he does it every single week. Another one there where, what am I supposed to make of that result? Is Bethlehem Catholic a real solid program and Parkland is just pasting everybody in their sight? Or has Parkland really yet to have seen the meat of the schedule? I mean, we talk about it with Bishop McDevitt. I think that's a decent comp, where they get into league play. Hey, maybe the first part of their schedule was challenging, but once they get to league play, it's, a little bit easier of a road until you get to the postseason. Could be a similar situation with Parkland. The advantage there is you keep most of your guys healthy, a really strong offensive line. We've talked about that in past shows. Great backfield, clearly. This is a program that, if they can get by, a couple of rivals there in District 11 play and win District 11, they'd have a date with St. Joe's Prep on that third weekend in November. And not to wish the season away, but I don't know, would that game be any fun? I mean, you tell me. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, it sure does. I'll tell you what, I think that it's just absolutely great for football in the state of Pennsylvania, and teams like Parkland, Pittsburgh Central Catholic, St. Joe Prep, and kind of the triangle here. Let's not forget Harrisburg too. I mean, here's a team last 2 weeks ago got taken to the limit by Central Dauphin East. They on the road again go to State College and shut them out. State College averaging 42 points a game. Harrisburg goes in there and shuts them out 21-0. What a performance by the Cougars.
In the last 8 quarters, Harrisburg has had State College's number. You'll remember that last regular season, State College beats Harrisburg in a regular season conference game en route to an undefeated regular season and a berth in the state semifinal played at wonderful Mansion Park in Altoona, 40 minutes down the road from State College. And Harrisburg was a different team that Saturday afternoon, and their defense stepped up in a big way here in this one against State College. Great for Cal, Everett, and those guys. A strong Harrisburg team. Again, a team that ended up being a little overmatched in the state final last year. I think the western side of the state is a lot stronger. You mentioned the team in particular there, Bruce, even with the one loss. Pittsburgh Central Catholic is a team that either State College or Harrisburg will have to deal with this year on the western side of that bracket, where there really was nobody last year of that quality coming out of District 7, which was unique because if you remember the year before that, Mount Lebanon, it was that historically great team that beat St. Joe's Prep in the state final. Last year, Mount Lebanon lost all those guys. Central Catholic was a little bit down. North Allegheny actually won the WPIAL, but I don't even think that they would have told you that that was their most talented team. So it ended up being Harrisburg State College in the state semifinal. Could both those teams get to that point this year? Absolutely, but they're going to have to contend with a stronger WPIAL to get there this year.
Yeah, they sure are. That Harrisburg State College game for my WPIAL podcast that I do. The Harrisburg State College game was my take notice game for the WPIAL fans because State College, they're going to be going out west to play that WPIAL champ most likely in the state quarterfinal. So really interesting there. Manheim Central, are they back for 4A in District 3. That is really just a bunch of heavyweights there. And Manheim Central, a big win over 5A Conestoga Valley, 47-14. They are making a statement coming down the stretch, Bob.
Yeah, and I'll leave that analysis to you, the District 3 guy there. But you've been talking about Manheim Central all year long. Township, pretty good team as well. I know, one doesn't always like to talk about the other, but the Manheims, good programs this year.
Yeah, and speaking of Manheim Township, I mean, they're the only team that's kind of run roughshod. They beat Harrisburg earlier this year, but kind of under extenuating circumstances. It was the game was supposed to be played on a Friday night, and then there was all that lightning and what have you, and they moved it to a Saturday night, and just
I remember that night. I was in the heart of it. I was in the heart of it at Bishop McDevitt.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure out why. And we were just right over at Hershey Park Stadium, which was not far, but we didn't get anything. We just played right through, which was really interesting. Yeah. But
I don't think the heavy stuff will be coming down for quite some time.
I really don't think so either. But in the case of football here, we're coming right down the stretch. I mean, coming into week 9 here. But why don't we talk a little bit about our top 5s here real quick? And, not a lot of change in the top 5s this week. We'll start with the small schools. And this is a little bit different. And that for Dave Micah, our buddy, hopefully Dave will be back. He does it with EasternPAFootball.com in 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A. Bob and I just kind of split it down the middle. We do it for our small schools are 1, 2, 3. And Dave came in, even with the loss, everybody seems to be keeping Southern Columbia right there. So Dave does, and your ranking there, I tell you, it's really interesting. I dropped them down a little bit, just because, I understand that Mount Carmel is, a good team and a rival and that, but, a loss is a loss when it comes to the ranking there. And, but like I said, I mean, there's our small school top 5s. I think a pretty lofty group by all of us here. I think we're kind of splitting hairs really with these top 5 teams, across the board. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think first off, I think your work, Bruce, in the 1A to 3A, second to none. I would readily admit that, likely my expertise on the smaller school side isn't as let's say comprehensive as the large school side, but put our best foot forward out there with these top fives. If you look at my list, right, there are two reigning state champs. There's Canton was a state semifinalist last year. Wyomissing was a state semifinalist last year. The programs that have had the talent historically, I think, have it again. And we could see some familiar faces at Cumberland Valley this year.
And in my rankings, teams 1 and 2, Steel High and West Perry, are in the same conference in the Mid-Penn, and they play one another week 10 this year. So pretty incredible stuff there. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I want to take this opportunity to thank, sponsor of our podcast now. We got them on this slide here, Wyo Fit Clubs. They've stepped up to not only support our Fresh Set of Downs podcast, but all of our Penn State coverage as well. So Wyo Fit Clubs, thank you very much. And we appreciate your support of high school football. So I'm going to see, and it looks like Mike Gross is here. So perfect time to talk about Penn State football. So let's bring Mike on in. So let's see how good he is technically anyway in getting into a Zoom
if I know
meeting.
Mike.
What's the problem here, guys? Start to
There.
Mike.
There we go.
There he is.
There we go.
Partner,
Wow.
how we doing?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Good,
You look
good.
fabulous.
Oh, well, so do you, man. You're behind your is this where you do all of your podcasts?
Yeah. The other room that I work in, for some reason, it looks like hostage video. The lighting is so bad. So I usually this is my background. Yeah.
Well, good,
Great.
Mike.
It's my dining room, actually. It's our dining room.
Okay. Wow, nice. But obviously, thanks for joining us here. And we talked a little bit earlier about the fact that you're on the program here to talk about Penn State football, and obviously the most meaningful game of the season upcoming as Penn State goes out to Ohio State. Obviously, you and I have both seen this Penn State squad, firsthand all season. What are your thoughts going into the game from Penn State's perspective? Are they going to be able to compete? And, what are they going to have to take advantage of to come out victorious?
I think they're going to be able to compete. These two teams, it's interesting. Ohio State, I think, has their best defense in a long time. So I think the two defenses have both been really, really good so far. The offenses have been a little bit spotty, not bad, but spotty. I think the two quarterbacks are about at the same place. They're both first-year starters, performed pretty well, but with some limitations, maybe. The area where these two teams divert to me is Ohio State has some of the best wide receivers in the country. Penn State has some of the best cornerbacks in the country and maybe the best secondary in the country. So even the parts that are different sort of match up with each other. And I think a lot of this game could come down to the balls in the air, and a couple of elite athletes are competing for it. And, is there going to be a pass interference call? I hope not, but that might be a factor in this game. That's the one area that I could see where these teams sort of divert from each other. Obviously, Ohio State has a better win than any win that Penn State has because they beat Notre Dame. But I could see this being kind of low scoring and a rock fight a little bit, which is, okay. They've had a couple of those in the past that I've covered that were really good games.
Rob, question for Mike?
Sure. I mean, rock fights, low scoring games, it magnifies everything.
Yeah.
And one thing when you say, hey, quarterbacks are on the same level, to an extent, I think both quarterbacks have to prove a little something. But Drew has shown a penchant for not turning the ball over in a way that McCord has not. And listen, we're big fans of Kyle McCord here, former St. Joe's Prep
St.
guy.
Joe's Prep, that's
another,
right. Yeah.
Throwing to another St. Joe's Prep guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. So we're fans of both of those guys. But all that to say, I think Drew's progression as a freshman has been great. The one thing, Mike, and I'm interested in your thoughts, seeing a lot of the games in person, the home road splits have not been great for Drew and really for the offense in general.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit to do with the opposition. Delaware and Massachusetts were both home games.
Sure.
Yeah. But the best game that Penn State played offensively was probably against by far the best defense they faced, which was Iowa. They impressed me that day. That was to beat them 31-0. And that's a team that really doesn't let you push the ball vertically down the field. They really are pretty good at the bend but not break thing. So that's are you going to be able to run the ball and move the chains? A, and B, is Aller going to be able to make throws in the red zone, which is one of the main things that I look at with a quarterback when the defense doesn't have a lot of real estate to cover, so they're kind of filling your field of vision with bodies and make a decision quick and make a strike. He's been pretty good at that. They haven't pushed it down the field very much. Part of that is what defenses have done, with the exception of West Virginia in the season opener, who really said, we're going to dare this rookie starter kid to see if he can throw it over our head. And he could. And everybody else has taken the opposite tack since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point about, he's down in the red zone. Warren and Johnson now, have been his targets. He's looking for that tight end, and they've been very successful with that. And, right up the seam. We haven't seen a lot of passes to the side or vertically. And
that's true.
To me, I just think that that's going to be an important part of what Penn State's going to have to do to be successful, because they're going to have to, regardless, they're going to have to run the football, and they're going to have to somehow get Ohio State, I think, to defend the whole field. And the only way that that's going to happen is by at least trying to throw it out wide or throw it over the top, which they haven't really done very successful this year. What do you think?
Well, is it a can't or is it a hasn't, Mike? Right?
Well, it's. I think they've really tried against UMass in terrible weather. I think they really tried to. I think that James Franklin really loves explosive plays. He talks about it all the time. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing with him. It's funny how he went nuts when he got asked about it last week, but he talks about that.
Poor Corey, man. Poor Corey. That was a tough situation. I like Corey a lot.
Yeah, I do too. In fact, I did his radio show that day, which was kind of interesting. And he said, he murdered me, but maybe he didn't need to stab me like 60 or 70 times after I was already dead, which, James is a little over the top there. But anyway, we're getting off track here. But I thought they really tried to make it happen last week, and maybe because of the elements, it just didn't quite happen. They have not targeted the wide receivers. Now, I like throwing to the tight end. Because that, to me, that's like a cheat code, because you always have, it's so easy for a good tight end to create a mismatch. Ohio State has been pretty good at the linebacker level. So that may be another thing where pretty good athletes are competing with each other with the ball in the air. Something to watch, because 12 personnel, as they say, as we football geeks say, has been pretty good to Penn State.
It has. And the only thing I'd say there, Mike, too, is, Trey Wallace has been out for a good portion of the season. Of course, returned from Massachusetts, but, maybe that has something to do with the play call and what defenses were willing to give Penn State and whether they threw it over the top or not. That's why I stressed hey, are they not able to? Is it a cannot thing, or just they haven't thrown it over the top effectively? But
I hear you. And the
12-game season, and
Yeah, the wide receiver group has been kind of puzzling. Guys have been in and out of seeming like favor and different strengths and weaknesses that they seem to have. I think it comes down to Trey Wallace is going to have to be pretty good. He's going to have to emerge. And of course, he wasn't healthy. He was out for a bit, played last week. They threw it to him early. He fumbled. Massachusetts recovered the fumble, but you know, I mean, let's not go nuts over one play. He did okay, and he's going to have to be better than okay from here on out. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting as well. You know, when Penn State's played this really good, deliberate style, or they've just been kind of slugging it out, they've done very well with that at home. Quite honestly, I think they had a difficult time at Northwestern with playing that particular style until that quarterback for Northwestern got hurt. I mean, it was a toss-up game.
Northwestern was a weird game, and of course, Nick Singleton fumbled the opening kickoff, and that was the first game where Penn State kicked the ball around a little bit. I sort of think turnovers are almost like a wild card factor. You saw it with the 49ers and the Eagles yesterday. It's sort of a wild card factor sometimes. I mean, so I think that was a big part of. I mean, everybody said, well, they were sleepwalking at Northwestern because it was an 11 a.m. start out there, et cetera. Well, you know, when the defense came on the field and they're on Penn State's 11-yard line after that opening kickoff fumble, they played with what looked to me like a hell of a lot of energy. So I don't know that they were sleepwalking. That was a weird kind of game. You know, it's not easy to kick the crap out of everybody every week.
A big
and they've been doing that. There's something to be said for that by itself. You know, obviously it's a big step in class this week. And I do not think they're going to be able to win this game with 15 play drives, 4 yards at a pop, just moving the chain. That's not going to fly. They're going to have to get some big plays out of their offense.
Yep. Mike, I think, you know, it's been the year of nitpicking, and that is, you know, I guess pun may or may not be intended there, but like from a standpoint, and that's always been that way with this fan base. Love the fan base, by the way, but from a standpoint of, you know, hey, how many games in a row have they covered? I'm not a betting man, but they're winning games consistently. Yes, Bruce, they struggled in the first half against Illinois and Northwestern, but the class and the cream really rose to the top there. The one critique I've heard is, hey, the running backs aren't hitting the home run the way they have in the past. But what I've seen, tell me if you think I'm wrong here, is the offensive line, I think, has consistently gotten the push downhill, north and south. And the running backs have generally hit the first hole. It's just been, hey, you know what? Somebody has a shoestring tackle here, or the defense is kind of stuffing the box and not really trying to allow that big play. I think both Katron Allen and Nick Singleton have been maybe other than Nick Singleton fumbling the opening kick at Northwestern, pretty good with the football, pretty good at getting the ball downhill, keeping the team on schedule. I think that's been a real asset. And I've said to Bruce, there's a home run ball coming. I'm just not sure what week it's coming.
What I think you're saying, and I think this is right, is that there have been holes at the point of attack. I think there have been. I think they've been okay in that regard. I don't know. Are they not making the guy miss at the second level? Maybe. I don't know what that is. Katron is better at making people miss than Nick is. Nick is just so fast and strong. I mean, last year, a month into his freshman season, this is 10 months after he's been playing high school football for Governor Mifflin. He's leading the country in yards per carry a month into the season. And I don't think I had really seen him break a tackle to that point. I mean, other than just kind of shrugging people away. So they're very different. But they're good. They're good. I don't think they're a problem. I don't think they're an issue.
No. Yeah. No, in fact, I think they're a strength. I mean, I think that now Travion Henderson on the Ohio State side, he's been a little banged up. Mayan Williams, you know, I think he's been dinged up a little bit too. They obviously have two tremendous backs, just like Penn State does. But It's not, if you were to line up position groups, it's not a position group where I say, man, Ohio State has an advantage.
No, certainly not. And especially if, as you said, they seem to be banged up a little bit. At one point in this game if I heard this right, they were playing their number 4 running back at one point last week. And one of the wideouts missed last week's game. I think their number 2 guy, Emeka, whatever.
Yes, Ibuka, yeah.
He missed the game. He missed last week. I mean, I'm sure I'm not expecting him to miss this week, but
sure.
Yeah, but so that may be a little piece of it. And related to that, Penn State is remarkably healthy and unbelievably rested for this point of the season. Somebody had snap counts like they're first in the country in their defense, having been on the field for the fewest snaps. And plus the fact that they're playing 19, 20 people on defense, they're as fresh as you could possibly expect a team to be going into a game in week 7 like this.
Yep.
And I think,
no doubt
I think that's the factor that's put in my mind that puts Penn State would be favored in this game, is just what you talked about. The fact that they really are fresh, that they don't have a lot of injuries, that they're really kind of peaking for this game. And I don't think that that's necessarily the same thing for Ohio State. They're always peaking for Michigan, and they're a little bit banged up, and they don't have, the experienced quarterback in there. I think that this is, Penn State's game.
I think the quarterbacks are roughly equally experienced. I don't know if that's an issue, but Ohio State's defense has been really good. I mean, they've surprised me a little bit on that side of the ball. And they did roll. They were pretty effective last week. And they played Purdue. Well, Penn State played UMass, for God's sake. So there's I don't know if there's anything there. Las Vegas, anyway, disagrees with you, because Ohio State is pretty clearly going to be favored. And I saw some weird things with the line yesterday, because somebody told me that the line was, they saw an early line that opened at 10. And I went on to this place these guys that I work with, it's called Vegas Insider. They have like 10 books that they give you an average. They show you what all the lines are. And of the 10, one of them was 10. One of them, the spread was 10. Another, it was 10.5. And every other one was 5 or 5.5.
I thought it was 4.5 today.
Now
right?
it's 4.5.
Yeah.
You're right. Now it's going down. It's going in Penn State, a full point from the low end. It's going a full point in Penn State's direction. So that's really weird. I don't even know what to mean. That's like, if you try to figure out what that means, your head will explode. That's very
that's
strange.
Wild. That Vegas Insider sounds like the sports book version of LIBOR. I don't know.
Yeah.
Take this bank. What's the internal rate? Okay, boom.
That's
LIBOR.
right. That's right. We're venturing into your world here now, big guy. That's right. I don't know what to make of that. It's very strange, but I thought the 10. Somebody told me it was 10. I thought, no, I would have guessed 5.5, and now it's 4.5. Which I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Well, I think it's
Bruce. If you like the line, bet the game, partner.
Look, I have never, placed a bet on a betting service for college or pro.
I don't do it either, but I
don't either,
because it's information. I think it's information. I think it's worth. It's an interesting little piece of how to look at it. I include what the spread is in my previews and stuff. It's worthwhile information. Yeah.
Well, would you agree that these two teams are pretty evenly matched? And what do you think the final result's going to be, Mike?
Boy, I honestly don't know who I'm going to pick, but let's say this. I'm going to say, I think Penn State wins. I think Penn State finds a way to win. The ability to create, I have a feeling what Bob said about McCord occasionally throwing it to the other team. This is another team that will make you throw it to them. They've got some dudes who can really pass cover. I think Kalen King is one of the best players in the country, and the other corner, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, is
Johnny
excellent.
Dixon.
Yeah, Johnny Dixon. Yeah, Johnny Dixon. And I think Daquan Hardy.
And Daquan
maybe
Hardy,
this is changing now, but I thought he might be their most underrated player.
And he's certainly going to return punts from now on.
He's certainly going to return punts from now on. Yeah, that's right. That Caden Saunders is another one. Huge recruit.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened much for him as a wide receiver. I mean, he won the punt return job, but the wide receiver thing is a little weird. They have so many of them, but nobody is emerging. And you start to wonder, is nobody emerging because they have so many of them that they can't just pick a couple and let them go out there? I don't know.
Well, anyway, Bob and I'll talk about our picks at the end of the show when we do that. Bob, you have a final question?
One quick one. It's not related to the game, Mike, but James has made this year on the beat very interesting, even for those of us that are not on the beat. There's been some viral clips. We talked about Corey. Hopefully everything is kind of smoothed over there. It sounds like it is. The coffee press conference was very interesting. What's everybody's take of coffee? Tell us something else that's been interesting on the beat this year that a normal or average Penn State fan might not be aware of.
Well, here's something that pops into my mind, and I actually wrote about this the other day. I think James is very conscious that these two games, Ohio State and Michigan, are career defining for him. He's been on this job for about a decade now, and to take the next step, I think he's very conscious of how huge these games are, to the point where maybe he's a little bit on edge, and maybe he's a little bit trying to let's create some fun with the press so we don't have to be edgy, at times. I asked him a question the other day about Ohio State's AD testified to Congress that about the NIL stuff. And he testified that recruits are now asking to be paid to visit your campus. And he said $5,000 is the number that he gave. And I asked James this question. As far as I'm concerned, it could have been the AD at San Diego State or the AD at Baylor. That was not the point, but he totally fixated on the fact that it was Ohio State's AD. And this whole idea about why do you guys think we're any different? If they have it, if they have this issue, we have it too. Blah, sort of edgy. You know what I'm saying? A little edgy in a way that I didn't really mean it to be. It didn't occur to me that this was an Ohio State thing, but he saw it that way. And maybe it's hard for him to see anything any other way right now.
Yeah, but you did. It was pretty relaxed at the press conference after the. I'd never been in one. There was so much laughter
on Saturday night. You mean?
Yeah, Saturday night. Yeah, it was very relaxed, and then obviously the thing about don't ask me any questions until Tuesday. I mean,
well, that's kind of my point. Yeah, for God's sake, let's not talk about Ohio State for another couple days here. Give me a break. That's kind of in keeping with what I'm talking about.
Yeah, interesting. Well, listen, Mike, thank you so much for stopping by. It's always fun to see you in the press box. We probably talk more about high school football in the press box than we do have talked about Penn State football in the press box. But that's going to be a little bit different this week with Ohio State calling, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be, you guys are the first in a litany of shows I'm doing this week because everybody wants to talk about this. It's a big deal. I don't think Penn State's fan base has ever been bigger or more crazy than it is right now. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you put 105,000 in there for Delaware, people are nuts. Yeah. Right.
I guess so. Or
yes. Say yes. That's right.
Yes, that's correct. They are. That is correct. That is correct. Yeah. Mike, listen, thanks for your time. And hey, I'll see you Saturday. Okay.
That's right. I'll be there. Appreciate it.
All right, man. I'll be there too. We'll see you then. Take care.
Great to see you, Mike. Thanks.
Right. See you later.
Yep. He's an absolute
love that guy.
Absolute pleasure. always make sure that before the game, I have an opportunity to talk to Mike about Friday Night Football. I mean, hey, were you surprised about anything? So
Mm-hmm.
you'll be surprised. There's a lot of conversation that we have about high school football. It's great for me. I ask a lot of questions of guys like Mike, Rich Scarcella. I have opportunity to speak to Pat Principe from Channel 8 in Lancaster, guys that have been around this game for a long time, football in general and sports. And I can't tell you the amount of the things that I've gleaned from them, but I can't tell you how great they are. They're always forthcoming and always willing to answer questions and show me the time of day. And those guys are just fantastic. I can't say enough good things about all the guys that cover Penn State football, that's for sure. So
yeah. Yep. Mike's great. Mike's great. And I look forward to our late March in Hershey after state basketball championships, having a bite and a drink after those games. That's always a highlight for me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's just get right back into it. We still have our big school top five is where we kind of left off here. And let's see. I see my school. I can't see my big school. Darn it. Let me see what I got here. You have to pardon me for a second here, Bob.
Somehow, all right. Build the suspense.
Yeah, build the suspense. Small school. Here we go. Big school. And
drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please. Got to get all these things back in line now. And screen share. And
as Derek Zoolander would say, it's in the computer.
It is in the computer now. It's finally on the screen there. But yeah, I don't know. I have to get these things set up perfectly so that I can just kind of go through them and kind of went in and out there. But anyway,
I'll make it easy. I'll make it easy. No change for me.
No change.
And no reason to change. St. Joe's Prep. Why change them? They're the #1 team in the state. McDevitt rolls. Imhotep rolls over an Alny team that has only won one game this year. Malvern Prep played one of their biggest inter-rack opponents this week in Episcopal Academy. That was a 2-score win. And Manheim Township was dominant. Again, Parkland's right there for me. I think that's my, I don't know. I know Dave has Parkland there. It could go a different way. But that's my top 5. Nothing changing.
Mine didn't change either, other than not appearing in that top 5 is Harrisburg is just creeping right. It's just waiting in the wings for someone to stub their toe. I think they're really starting to play some really good football. They've got weapons all over the place. And
even with the Manheim loss earlier.
Yeah, the Manheim, like I said, I was kind of alluding to that a little bit earlier. That was a game that was postponed because of weather, and they just didn't show up. And I think that Cal Everett would probably say the same thing. But they, when they've played at the appointed time, they've been a tough out. So
all right,
those are the big school top 5. So why don't we just start getting to next week here and see where all the big games are. We're going to take our look ahead to week 9 right now. So you can probably see that was a little bit smoother in the transition, but we've got some great games all around the state. And the first one, and I really think that this is going to be a knockdown drag out, is Roman comes calling to you guys there at LaSalle. What do you think about that one?
This feels like, how do I put this properly, Bruce? This feels like the rivalry in the Catholic League right now. So St. Joe's Prep is what they are. They're a national program. They're a top 10 program in the country. On any given day, they can beat any team in the country. And that is great. They're a tremendous program, great coach, great support from the donors, great support from the athletic department. It's really tough for anybody on a consistent basis to compete there. Now, LaSalle, consistently sort of a top 10-ish program in the state, really good regional team, have struggled to compete with St. Joe's Prep year over year. Roman Catholic, Rick Preet comes in 5 years ago, turns that program around. Jameel Lyons playing at Penn State. Tysier Denmark, he's over at Imhotep now, but 3 great years at Roman Catholic. Samaj Beals, one of the top sophomores in the country at any position. Jaja Boyd, tremendous player, big time interest there. He's bringing in big time talent and creating a really good program. And even though Roman Catholic is 5A and LaSalle is 6A, this feels like the most competitive game in the Red Division every year. And I'm really looking forward to it this year. We've had classics each of the last few years. I think this could be the best one of them all. And I think going forward, these two are kind of going to be the barometer, the standard that they hold one another to. And if one can start to escalate above the other, you know, that's the team that's going to start trying to chase down St. Joe's Prep. Nobody is really in that aura quite yet. And this is a wonderful rivalry between two teams that in my mind are at least top 10 teams at their respective classifications in the state of Pennsylvania. And the game will be on Bob Long Sports if you needed any additional reason to check it out.
Well, all the LaSalle games are on Bob Long Sports. And if you're not watching them, the LaSalle College games, you're really missing out not only on, you know, great football, but a really wonderful broadcast. But I'm in total agreement with you on there. I think that this is the rivalry in the Philadelphia Catholic League right now, Roman and LaSalle College. So I guess we won't ask you for a pick. You know, you're doing the proverbial, you know,
Kirk
announcing the
Herbstreit.
game. Yeah. But I tell you what, I think it's going to be a very competitive game. And I don't think, quite honestly, it matters where they play. I mean, it's going to be just a lot of talent on display. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Tough
tune in.
broadcast window, 1 o'clock on Saturday,
Wow.
given the
Wow.
Penn State game. But
Yeah,
that's
given
all
the
right.
Penn State game there. Yeah. Well, you know, look, it's always on demand as well. But hey,
That's
look,
right.
you'll still be able to you know, probably catch the decisive final quarter.
There you go.
There.
That's right.
So a big game here in the Old Coal region, as it's called, District 11, the old Schuylkill League. Now it's it used to be called the Anthracite League. Now it's the Schuylkill League. Minersville and Schuylkill Haven. Both teams are 7-1. These are 1A programs that literally they adjoin the school district adjoin one another. Mike Farr at Schuylkill Haven has just done an incredible job with this team. Mike coached the Big 33 team to a victory over Maryland last year. And boy, he's just kept that momentum up. Schuylkill Haven and Minersville might be a little bit anticlimactic because it's pretty clear that they will probably be playing one another in the postseason, but there's going to be no love lost between those two when these old anthracite opponents get together. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave these next probably 3 to you, but I'll say again, your knowledge of these small classifications, small school divisions is really impressive. Up in the anthracite, I mean, that's a tremendous league name. Are you kidding me? They should never have changed that. That's got like a Lehigh Engineers feel to it. I love that. But yeah, no, great game, and I'm looking forward to seeing the result. I don't have a ton to go off in terms of making a pick, but as a high school football fan, that's exciting.
Well, and East Pennsboro at Susquehanna Township, that's my game this week.
Yeah,
for
tell us
Penn
about
Live.
it, Bruce.
This is going to be a knockdown drag out. This is for a league championship. East Pennsboro, John Dennison has just done an incredible job bringing this team back. This is his 4th year at East Pennsboro, and Joe Heaton at Susquehanna Township. I mean, he's just keeps rolling along. Got some good talent there. Both of these teams don't like one another. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, this is for the league championship, and that'll be on Penn Live. So, and that's Friday night, so everybody can watch that game and not worry about any type of conflict with Penn State or even a Bob Long game. So
That's right. Particularly no conflict with a Bob Long sports game. Just in case anybody was concerned on that one. Yes.
Exeter at Conestoga Valley. This is a big time Section 2 Lancaster Lebanon League. There's very few people. I won't say there isn't anybody, but there's very few people that thought Exeter would be 8-0 at this stage of the season after. I mean, they just keep reloading over there. Matt Bauer, what an incredible job, and that staff over at Exeter and this team. They are just steamrolled everybody this year. They're at Conestoga Valley. This is a really tough place to play. Conestoga Valley having one of their best seasons. This is a Section 2 Lancaster Lebanon League showdown. And I tell you what, that is really going to be a knockdown dragout. Northwest Lehigh at Bangor. That's a District 11 game that I think is going to be, very interesting. Actually, let's see. I think that's a misprint. That was actually from last week.
I think that. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah,
I was going. That's not right.
Let's cross that off the list. But I do want a quick comment on Exeter. So Exeter, two things. Where are they on your large school top 5, Bruce? Come on, man. Come on. They're proving themselves. That's the first one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, they're clearly the top team in my mind in 5A in District 3. The question is how that stacks up against, I mean, we're talking about top 5 of the entire eastern half of Pennsylvania. So
4A through 6A. Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. So that's
I'm
a little
just
bit tough.
Throwing shade because it's in your backyard. But second thing is, so that game that we broadcast 2 years ago when they took down Governor Mifflin, I know a lot of these guys that are seniors now and contributors now weren't the main contributors on that team, but doesn't that really feel like an inflection point for that program? And those sophomores and freshmen now are juniors and seniors and got to learn from that experience. And there's an internal confidence that comes from it. And now this is their time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what I mean, with Coach Bauer and in what he's instilled in the expectation of all the players that step out on the field at Exeter. And Matt talks about it all the time. When he took over a coach, more people went to an Exeter game to see the band than the football team. I think that wasn't too long ago, Exeter, I think, had consecutive winless seasons. So to take that team from the depths to where it is now, Matt Bauer has just done an incredible job. And it is that, just like you talked about, it is expectations. It's learning to win. And that's just a program that has just leapfrogged so many teams in District 3 and in 5A especially. But this CB South, CB West game, Bob, I mean, does it get any
Appointment TV out there. CB West, number 2 in Bruce's large school rankings, by the way, and a team that was great last year, got all the way. They actually upset a really good Perk Valley team. That same group of contributors, another year older, really strong. South, good too. East has a really good team. All the Central Bucks teams are really strong. But this will be a heck of a game. Can't wait.
Southern Columbia, it doesn't get any easier for them. The reason this is on there is the fact that they're going into an undefeated Wyoming area team. And boy, something that, really, they've got a very difficult part of their schedule upcoming. I think it's quite important for Southern Columbia to bounce back in a big way. Bob, what do you think?
Yes, I think so too. They are human, right? And it kind of took away that little patch of play last year when Southern Columbia, they lost the 3 games. Okay, you know what? They got healthy at the right time. They won out. This is the Southern Columbia, the Jim Roth team of old, where they're not going to lose. Well, that's not the case now, is it? Nice opportunity for them, though. Still not going to affect their postseason seeding. I think this is kind of a build-up. Jim Roth has always told us in the times before we've done his games, listen, kind of like tapering in track or in swimming. We don't spend as much time on the field probably as other people might think because we want our guys to be fresh in late November and into December. I don't know how that's going to affect this game here, but just bear that in mind if Southern Columbia starts to, face familiar foes again in the state tournament. Maybe they have a loss or two to their name. This is still Southern Columbia, and they're the champs until someone takes them down. But a huge game here this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. And, another game, quite honestly, that, I'm keeping an eye on here is really this Wilkes-Barre at Dallas game. Dallas, I tell you what, maybe one of the teams that just doesn't get enough love. The tough part is that, and the reason is that they're in 4A. I mean, 4A is just a minefield of great teams across the state of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
But Dallas, year in, year out, they put together another good season at 8-0. Wilkes-Barre comes calling. But interested to see here, 4A kind of spreads out. It doesn't really have, a direct line that, the 4A District 3 champ will play the Western champ or what have you. It kind of gets spread out because of the lack of 4A teams there in District 1 and District 12.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
I'm really interested to see how this all shakes out because, Dallas is another team that can make, a deep run in the state tournament. And obviously Penn State and Ohio State.
Still Aliquippa and Bishop McDevitt to contend with, though.
And Manheim Central.
At some point.
And, it's but yeah, actually the one good thing is that only one team is going to come out of District 3. It's either going to be Manheim Central or Bishop McDevitt.
Right. Good point.
Same thing out of the Whitfield. But still 4A is just incredible. And then you're not even talking about the fact that Central Valley out in the Whitfield as well. So whoever comes out of the Whitfield is, in my mind, going to be the co-favorite along with Bishop McDevitt in 4A. But so Penn State, Ohio State, Bob, we had obviously, Mike Gross talking about the game. What are your thoughts about Penn State and their opportunity that's right in front of them?
I think it's a great opportunity. Maybe the most gettable, quote unquote, that Ohio State has been. Pin that on the bulletin board in Columbus, I suppose. But, listen, it's been generational quarterback to generational quarterback, all the way back to Braxton Miller and then JT Barrett and Cardale Jones. And gosh, I'm forgetting a couple of guys, all the way up to last year with CJ Stroud. So, Kyle McCord, tremendous, great, one of the best high school players I've ever seen. But I think a guy who is still kind of young in his career, just like Drew Aller. But if you're a Penn State fan, you got to be happy with your guy you have at quarterback. And I think you'll take your guy, as crazy as that is to say. So Penn State got the Ohio kid and Ohio got the Pennsylvania kid. And, I think Penn State's going to find a way to win the football game. I do. I think this is their year to go into that Michigan game. I'm not making a pick there yet, but I think this is their year to get Ohio State. I think it's their best shot at the 14 playoff format. I think Nick Singleton and Katron Allen will be a difference maker. Mike Gross said, hey, I don't think they're going to have many 10-play drives, taking 6 minutes off the clock. I disagree. I think they are going to have a couple 10-plus play drives that result, certainly in scoring and hopefully a couple of touchdowns if you're a Penn State fan. I think this is their time. It's a very difficult road environment, but I do think they win the game.
I think that, the horseshoe people have and teams have gone in there and beaten Ohio State. I mean, it's not this Michigan beat them there last year. Oklahoma beat them there, a couple of years ago. And I agree with you. I think that they're going to have this patience. I know that I asked that question of Drew Aller, a few weeks ago against Iowa. I said, my gosh, you guys just were so patient. Okay. And he says, you just had to be in the moment. You just have to take each particular play. And that's the mindset, on that offense, that they're very patient, that they're going to just look at the play that's in front of them and, do their assignment. And I agree with you. I think that they're going to have to do that to win. I think that they're going to have to have that explosive play in special teams, though, too. I think that, punt return touchdown or maybe a block kick. I think that that's probably the determining factor of this game. I think that both teams are going to be slugging it out, but I think some kind of a interception return for a touchdown or special teams touchdown is really going to be the determining factor on it. Just like you were alluding to the fact that the last time that James Franklin beat Ohio State in Beaver Stadium, there were special teams plays that turn the tide. And I think that's what Penn State's going to have to do to win this game.
Can't wait. Should be a great game. I envy you being out there. I'll be following along with your coverage.
Well, I can't wait either. It's been a long time since I've been to the Horseshoe. I was there many, many years ago. And, back in the late 70s, believe it or not, when the Big Ten was the Big Ten and not the Big 11 or whatever. But
14, 16, 18 seem to be, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, by the way, too, the other thing too that's pretty kind of cool as well is the fact that I was talking to my daughter yesterday on the phone. She lives in LA. So it's like I've got a place to stay.
There you go.
I got, I'll get a plane ticket. We'll sandwich a nice vacation, or the game will be sandwiched within a nice vacation next year with me and my daughter out on the beach in Los Angeles. So she was heading to the beach yesterday.
Love it. Love it. Well, that'll be soon enough.
But it will be soon enough.
The game in Ohio will be something else on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking
forward, partner,
to next week when we get together. Hopefully we got Dave Micah with us. We'll hopefully get the band back together next week for another fresh set of downs. Bob, thanks so much, man. It's always fun.
Cheers. Enjoyed it. Yep. Everybody enjoy the football this week.
All right. Enjoy the football this week. Thanks a lot for joining us on Fresh Set of Downs.